Good day guys, welcome to this video. Today we're gonna talk about the early Renaissance in Northern Europe and Italy in the 15th century. With my co-reporter 30 Gayares, I am Novem Nanaban. So let's begin. Begin with the historical background. The prosperous commercial and mercantile interest in the affluent trading towns of Flanders stimulated interest in the arts. Emerging capitalism was visible everywhere. From the first stock exchange, which was established in Antwerp in 1460, to the marketing and trading of works of art. The characteristics of early Northern Renaissance architecture. The popularity of the flamboyant Gothic style extended beyond church architecture into the secular realm by the 15th century. Elements of Gothic church architecture were grafted onto secular buildings, turning them into monastically inspired buildings for the rich and famous. When we say Gothic, it just means that it is relating or resembling their gods, their culture or language.
Major work of 15th century architecture in Northern Europe. House of Jacques Borges, France, home of rich entrepreneurial merchant who amassed a fortune. Many Gothic details in window, frames, tracery, and arcs. One of the most important inventions in the last 1,000 years, if not in history, is the development of movable type by Johann Gutenberg. The impact was enormous. This device could produce books, make them available to almost anyone, and have circulated on a wide scale.
The innovations in Northern Renaissance painting. The second important development of the 15th century was the widespread of oil paint. Prior to this, wall paintings were done in fresco and panel paintings in tempera. Oil paint was developed as an alternative to this method in a part of Europe in which fresco never really.
Characteristics of Northern Renaissance painting and sculpture. The great painted altarpieces of medieval art were by the accomplished painters whose work was on public view in the most conspicuous locations. Italian altarpieces from the age Giotto tend to be flat paintings that stands directly behind an altar, often with gable stops.
Here are some major works of 15th century painting. Here is Limburg Brothers October from the very rich Archduke Berry. Here are its details. International Gothic. Each manuscript page is an illustration of the months of the year for a book of hours. Naturalism details meticulously rendered castle.
John van Eyck Altarpiece 1432. Oil and wood Saint Babo Cathedral Gent Belgium. Polyptychic placed on altar of Saint Babo. Great detail and extreme realism.
Painting from John van Eyck, Earl Finney, The Wedding, 1434, oil and wood. It is now in the National Gallery in London. It was traditionally assumed to be wedding portrait of Giovanni Arnolfini and Giovanna Sinami, in which dog symbolizes fidelity or carne.
Roger van de Weyden. Deposition in 1435, oil in wood in Prado, Madrid. Shallow stage for figures jammed into a confining shape. Great attention for details.
The painting from Hugo van der Goes central panel of the Petrani altarpiece, 1476, 10% oil and wood, on Uffizi, Florence. Its details, placement in maternity hospital chapel, influences imagery, and Mary is the mother of Christ is central. Saint Margaret, patron saint of childbirth, is in the right wing. Christ's thin appearance simulates a newborn. Other details on the painting was continuous landscape throughout the three panels, figure at different scales, some very large, some much smaller.
Hieronymus Bosch Garden of Earthly Delights 1505 to 1510. Oil in Wood in Prado, Madrid. Figures are light and non-substantial, lacking individually and will having no minds of their own. High horizons packs many details in the paintings.
And now, let's dive into the characteristics of early Northern Renaissance sculpture. Northern European sculpture continues the Gothic progression of figures more away from the surrounding wall, although complete independence is not achieved as quickly as it is in Italy. However, drapery and naturalistic forms emerge because of Klaus Lothar. When we say drapery, it is like the simulation in cloth.
Major work of 15th century sculpture in Northern Europe. Klaus Slater, The Well of Moses. Large sculptural fountain with a crucifixion, now destroyed, located over the well. The well supply water for the monastery. Rounded solid volumes. Now we go to the Unit 16. Early Renaissance in Italy in 15th century.
Let's go to the historical background. Italian city-states were controlled by ruling families who dominated politics throughout the 15th century. They commissioned architectural works from the most pioneering architects of the day. Indeed, they embellished their places with the latest innovative paintings by some of the artists.
Patronage and artistic life. It was customary for great families to have a private chapel in the local church, dedicated to their use. Artists would often be asked to paint in this to enhance the spirituality of the location.
Some of the innovations of early Renaissance architecture. The great technological of the age is expressed in the dome for Florence Cathedral. When the building was originally conceived in the Gothic era, a future dome was planned at between 135 and 140.
Characteristic of the 15th century Italian architecture. Renaissance architectures depend on order, clarity, and light. Indeed, the sacred sense of Gothic cathedrals was deemed barbaric. In its place, we created buildings with window spaces, limited stained glass, and vivid wall paintings. Major works of 15th century Italian architecture. Filippo Brunelleschi Dome of Florence Cathedral on 1420 to 1436 in Florence, Italy. Raised on a drum to increase height, meant to be experienced the inside and outside. Built without centering devices as an architectural accomplishment of the time.
Some of the details in Filippo Brunelleschi Dome of Florence Cathedral. Double dome of two shells, a light exterior shell and heavier interior. Dome walkway between domes enables interior to be maintained from within.
Surmounted by the lantern, which anchors the ribs of the dome in place.
Other details are Early Christian type wooden ceiling. Rectangular blocks define the spaces. Main aisle, which are twice the size of. Additional details where filling is light, airy, minimal stained glass, cool harmonious interior with sparing decorative touch.
The work of Filippo Brunelleschi is Bassi Chapel in 1442 to 1465 in Florence, Italy. Rectangular chapel attached to the Church of Santa Croce, Florence. Two barrel vaults on the interior, small than overcrossing. Interior has a quiet sense of color, muted tones, punctuated by glass terracotta tiles. Michelosa Palazzo Medici Riccardi on 1444 in Florence, Italy. Restorated ground floor. Second floor strongly articulated blocks. Third floor smooth surface building. Seems to get lighter as it goes up. Roman arcs at bottom is to support shops and businesses. Strong cornice placed on top. Interior courtyard allows light and air into the interior room of the palace. built to express the civic pride and political power of the Medici family. Rusticated bottom floor express fortitude of Medici family. Leon Battista Alberti. His work is Palazzo Rossellai in on 1446 to 1451 in Florence, Italy. Three horizontal floors separated by a strongly articulated string course. Pilasters rise vertically and divide the spaces into squarish shapes. Strong cornice caps the building. Rejects rustication of Micheloso, instead use beveled masonry joints. First floor pilasters are Tuscan, seconds are Alberti's own invention, third are Corinthian. Pieces contains Rossellai family symbols billowing sails.
Other detail for the Leon Battista Alberti Saint Andrea, combination of a Roman triumphal arch and ancient temple facade, giant pilasters, flank, arch and support pediment, one of the first Roman triumphal arch in Christian architecture. One of its remarkable detail is the large barrel vault canopy hangs above the west facade and shields the west window of the nave from sunlight. Albertis desires to have identical proportions of the width and height. Lastly, the interior possesses great barrel vault with no side aisles, coffered ceiling reminiscent of Pantheon and early Christian churches.
Innovations in the 15th century, Italian painting and sculpture. The most characteristic development of Italian Renaissance painting is the use of linear perspective, a technique some scholars say was known to the Romans.
Let's now go to the characteristics of early Renaissance painting. On the early part of the 15th century, religious paintings have dominated Europe, but by the end of the century, portraits and mythological scenes have emerged and proliferated reflecting humanist ideals.
Masaccio, Holy Trinity, 1425 in fresco, Santa Maria Novella, Florence. Created for the Lenzi family as tombstone. Triangular composition dominated by Brunelleschi-inspired architecture. Christ appears in a dual role as the crucified cross and as the second person of the Trinity God. The support him, the dove of the Holy Spirit is between the two. Mary and Saint John flank Christ. There are two traditional figures in crucifixion scenes. Patronils outside ark, vanishing point at the foot of the cross. Skeleton below painting symbolizes death. Inscription reads, I once was that you are, and what I am you will become.
Other detail from the Masaccio tribute money. We observe that it illustrates the moment from the New Testament, from the book of Matthew, chapter 17, verse 24 to 27, when Jesus is asked if he should pay tribute to the civil authorities, the tax collectors. Jesus tells Peter that he should hook up fish from the sea and remove a coin from its mouth. This will more than pay the collector. It also shows the continuous narrative. At left, Peter gets the money from the fish. At center, Jesus confronts the brutish-looking tax. At right, Peter pays the tax collector. It is probably related to the contemporary debate over taxation to support a war with Milan. Well, landscape is important in Masaccio's work. Monumentality of figures is also shown in this painting. So when we say monumentality, it resembles or serves a monument which outstands a significant
Expulsion from the Garden of Eden of the work of Masaccio on 1425 in fresco, Santa Maria del Carmine, Florence. Bold use of nude forms. Intense expression, Adams hides her body in shame. Bleak background represents the dissolution outside the Garden of Eden.
Another work is a Pietro Perugino, Christ delivering the keys of the kingdom to Saint Peter in 1842 fresco on the Sistine Chapel, Rome. With the details, Christ delivers the keys of his earthly kingdom to Saint Peter, a theme treasured by the popes who saw themselves of Saint Peter, with the left background tribute money. This is also a brilliant piece of painting because of the model of its Arch of Constantine in the background. Central Basilica also seems to reflect the ideas of Brunelleschi. Other detail to the Pietro Perugino is that many contemporary faces are in the crowd. one-point perspective, vast piazza. An open space makes dramatic emphasis placed on the keys, and also the figures stand in a contrapunto with heads tilted.
Birth of Venus, 1485, Tempera on panel, the work of Sandro Botticelli in Uffizi, Florence. Venus emerged fully grown from the foam of the sea. Far away, look in her eyes. Roses scattered before her roses, created at the same time as Venus, symbolizing that love can be painful. In the left, Reaper, West Wind, and Chlorine Nymph. In the right, handwritten rushes to the cloth her. Figures float, not anchored to the ground. Crisply drawn figures. Landscape flat and unrealistic, simple V-shaped waves. A Medici commission.
Another major work, Domenico Ghirlandaio, The Birth of Virgin from 1485 to 1490, painted on fresco in Santa Maria Novella, Florence, in which religious scenes were set in a Florentine home, with Saint Anne reclines at right in her palace room, decorated with intarsia and sculpture, and midwives prepare for marriage. Other details were the daughter of patron Giovanni Torboni was shown in the center, a position she must have had in Florentine society, and we can see in the upper left corner the story of Joaquin and Anna meeting.
Battle of Ten Naked Men, the work of Antonio del Pollaiuolo. Unknown subject matter may have been done as a study of the nude in action. Dense negative forms push figures forward. Precise anatomy. Many figures seem to be in opposite poses.
Another major work is a Piero della Francesca, The Resurrection from 1463, which was painted on fresco in Palazzo Comunale San Sepolcro, Italy. To the details, it shows pale color, flat background, and a man as the center, the height of any drama. It also shows geometric shapes inspired by use. Other details in the painting shows that Christ as an enormous figure who conquers all holds a labarum, which is the standard of victory over. The painting also shows that Christ is either stepping out of his sarcophagus or has his foot on his lid. With moralized landscape, at left is a large and bare area with trees that are strong and mature. The road uphill in life is difficult, but ultimately rewarding at right is the easy, beguiling. The painting is somehow unique from the other religious painting because it is located in a city hall and not in a church.
Room of the Newlyweds, the work of Andrea Mantegna, in fresco Ducal Palace, Mantua, painted in a room that was used as a bedroom and a reception room. Oculus contains two groups of women leaning around an opening to the sky, many looking down at the viewer.
Interest in the humanism and the rebirth of Greco-Roman classics also spurred in an interest in authentic Greek and Roman sculptures. The Asians gloried in the nude form in a way that was interpreted by medieval artists as pagan. The revival of nudity in life-size sculpture has begun in Florence, if you can remember the work of Donatello.
Now, the major works of Italian sculpture. Sacrifice of Isaac, the work of Filippo Brunelleschi on 1401 to 1403 in Bronze, National Museum, Bargello, Florence. Figures of weight and substances, dramatic tensions, and type. Immediacy of the action, angel just makes it in time.
One of the major works of this Italian sculpture was Donatello's Mary Magdalene from 1430 to 1450, made with wood, and now in the Museum of Works of Cathedral, Florence. With a detail, gilded hair indicates her spirituality. The face shows the torture of badly led life, ravages of time on her body, and the inner prayer expresses a world of spirituality. The painting also shows the emaciated from 30 years of penitence. Her eyes focus on an inner reality, with her hair covering her whole body. She wiped Christ's feet with her own hair.
Gata Melata, the work of Donatello, on 1445 to 1450, in bronze Padua, nickname for warrior, honey cat. Commemorative monument for a cemetery. Face reflects stem expression of a military commander, Marcus Aurelius.
Another major work is the Loca della Robbia, the Madonna and Child from 1455 to 1460, made with terracotta, on for San Michele, Florence. With its detail, it has white glazed terracotta, simulates marble work, with rich colored glazes on luminous ceramic tiles. Soft quality of the ceramic lends a gentility to the artist. And lastly, under the Verocious Coglione. Coglione was described as a military leader who fought for the Venetians, with a very powerful animal tamed by animated and victorious leader. Dramatically alive and forceful appearance was also displayed in this